Write a complete sentence. Use the word bank. I got yarn at the bank. Do you like the bank? Put your feet on the bank. Did you bank the drink? Get a bank to clean up the mess. Can you bank your fingers? I will bank soon. The whispering challenge. When I was in kindergarten, we played the Chinese whispers or the telephone game. My teacher was explaining the rule, but I just got myself distracted. I was in the middle. When someone whispered to me, I just don't understand by what the kid says. I don't know what to do with that information. Because I didn't understand the rule and I must keep the game going, I just whispered something like the whispering sound effect to the next kid. The kid is just confused and asked again, and now I'm whispering the sound effect, but just louder. My brother's 3 blocks account got hacked. He's been crying for an hour and I heard him say, "My whole life has basically been wasted. Like, bro, the hacker spent $10 in Robux. I got woken up over this." Kid with a mask. Well, that's not the mask you should be putting during the pandemic. One day, I had a substitute teacher for PE. When I was 8 or 9, and that day I had forgotten my PE kit. When I was 8 or 9, and that day I had forgotten my PE kit. And as a punishment, I had to write lines. I had never done that before and I didn't know what was that, so I got some paper and started drawing lines across a page for like 5 pages. I got punished worse for that. When I was like 7, I was scared of being in a dark room alone. And I was sleeping in my mom's bed, but she was in the driveway outside. So I went downstairs and decided to lay down on the couch under 3 to 4 blankets covering my whole body. I get woken up 1 to 2 hours later, all the family in the area over. They were looking for me, almost called the cops, screaming, "Where are you?" Then they searched the whole neighborhood, and we are about to go to question people. My uncle then sat on the couch and noticed a pile of blankets, picked it up. There I was, sleeping. I wouldn't wake up to 7 people screaming my name in the house. I tried hatching eggs by sitting on them. When I was 6 years old, I was obsessed with birds and I heard from somewhere that an egg hatches when the mother sits on it to warm it. This discovery got me excited and I went to the kitchen, took a dozen eggs, laid them on the couch and sat on them while I thought to myself that they will soon hatch and I'll be their mother. Instead, yes, the eggs cracked when I sit on them and I spent the week crying thinking I had killed 10 children. When I was very young, maybe 8 or 9, I was with my friends in my old room, which was painted 3 days before. I thought it would be cool to take a can of Coke and shoot it with a Nerf dart that had a thumbtack for the tip. Long story short, my wall was stained permanently brown and to this day, under a new coat of paint, my old room is still stained. People born in the time of the internet, what don't you understand about the before times? My brother, 11, thought that when my father, 45, was young, there were no cars, etc. He thought all they were doing was riding horses. Screaming at my brother at 1 a.m. As you could imagine, I got grounded for this. Lol, I love this. By the way, I'm only 10 and I have drank beer before. Oh, yeah. I drove my uncle's boat. It was fun. And I drove his jet skis. When I was in kindergarten, the teacher asked me how I would pay if something cost 2 cents. I yelled, "A 2-cent coin!" I didn't know it at the time, but she died inside. A year ago, my sister had a slogan that she would constantly say because she thought life was a sitcom and she was the main character. Constantly, at random times, usually near somebody, she would say, "Drink your milk, kids," in the most countryman accent she could make. Best part was that she looked in random directions while doing it. Me pooping in my pants in 1st grade because I thought pooping in toilets other than my own is illegal. Oh my god, I'm actually impressed that you made it all the way to 1st grade without pooping somewhere other than your own toilet. Like not a hotel room, family member's house, daycare, store. When I was young, around 6th grade, my classmate came to me and asked me how many times in a month I take a shower. I said, if we say that a month has 4 weeks, then I take shower 8 times in a month. To what my classmate replied, ew, what a pig! I take shower twice in a week. And that time I realized that my classmate is an idiot. Well, he almost got D from math, so I'm not surprised. When it was around 8 to 9, my family has let me go to my grandma's place alone to spend the night by her. She lives about 2 streets down from us, so it was easy to get there. My father gave me all the lessons about kidnappers before, and they watched me leave from the front of the house. As it was my first time going alone, I stuck to the lessons they gave me until the end of the street, where the kind neighbor of my grandma was driving by with my childhood buddy. They said they are going to the store to buy some stuff and then they are heading back. They also offered me a ride, which I kindly accepted. I dropped my roller bag and jumped in the car. Little did I realize that my parents, who were watching me from the house around 150 meters back, only seen me jumping into a black car and driving off. We went to the store, they bought me candies, and 15 minutes later, we were already arriving to my grandma's, where my father and my grandma were already crying in the garden looking for me. I got out of the car, my dad shouted the living out of me and took me home, where my mother, who was crying as hell, shouted the rest of the living out of me. Then I started crying, and that is how I learned for a life not to get into strangers' cars. I also got grounded for several weeks. When I was 12, I did something to make a teacher mad, so he assigned me a 500-word theme. I didn't know what a theme was, so I wrote the word theme 500 times. I counted each word to be sure it met the requirements. When I was a baby, like when I was 2 years old, I was walking around in my neighborhood with my mom, and a really old lady walks by, and she looked really old. And me dumb, decided to walk up to her and ask her if she was dead. You know that classic question your parents ask at some point. What do you do when a man walks up to you and says, "Hey little girl, do you want some candy?" Well, the stupid me said, "You mean free candy?" Why do I remember getting mad that the people who had the same name as me didn't look like me? When I was a child, I insisted on sleeping in sunglasses so that if Nick Jonas decided to come sweep me away in the night, I'd look fashionable. Once I walked in on my 7-year-old cousin who had his finger inside of my pet bunny's cage. So I told him, "Careful, it might think it is a carrot." He then scoffed and continued to yank his finger in between the bars. About 10 seconds later, he got bit, screamed, then of course his mother came into the room and started yelling at me. This is possibly one of the greatest "I told you so" moments in my life. If you watched this before, I believe you must have enjoyed watching this video. So if you could leave a like and subscribe to this channel, that would help this channel to a great extent. I'll see you all in the next video. Have a great day.